She thought I was her blind date who canceled. I didn't correct her until dessert. Finally! I was starting to think you weren't coming. The woman in the green dress was waving at me from across the restaurant. I'd just walked in alone. Never seen her before in my life. The hostess smiled and started walking me toward her booth before I could explain the mistake. Michael, right? The woman stood as I approached. I'm so glad you made it. Traffic was awful, wasn't it? I should have corrected her immediately. Should have said I'm not Michael. Should have backed away. Instead, I slid into the booth across from her. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. I was so nervous when I didn't hear from you after 7, she continued. First dates are nerve-wracking enough without wondering if you've been stood up. I'm Riley, but you probably already knew that from the app. She smiled at me, genuine and bright. The waiter appeared. Drinks? Riley ordered white wine. I heard myself order scotch. My brain was screaming to stop this, to tell her the truth, but she kept talking, leaning forward with her elbows on the table. You know, I almost didn't come tonight. Blind dates are always such a gamble, but your messages were so thoughtful. When you suggested this place, I figured anyone with taste in restaurants this good deserves a chance. Your messages. This place. She thought I was someone named Michael from a dating app. Someone who'd sent her thoughtful messages about art and restaurants. Someone who wasn't me. I opened my mouth again. She pulled out her phone before I could speak. I loved that message you sent about the Rothko exhibit. The way you described how the color fields make you feel like you're standing inside emotion itself. That was poetry. She looked up at me. Most guys just send, hey, or comment on my looks. You actually wanted to talk about art. My chest tightened. Riley, I need to tell you something. But she was showing me her phone now. A dating app profile with a photo of a man who looked vaguely like me. Dark hair, similar build, different face. This is why I was excited when you messaged. Your profile felt real, like an actual person instead of gym selfies and fish photos. The drinks arrived. She raised her glass. To first dates and the courage it takes to meet strangers from the internet. I couldn't do it. Couldn't toast to this lie. Riley, I started, my voice serious. I'm not Michael. She laughed. Of course you are. Don't be modest. No. I mean, I'm literally not the person you're supposed to be meeting. I just walked in here alone. You mistook me for your date. The smile died on her face slowly. Her hand holding the wine glass froze. What? I should have corrected you immediately, but you were so happy. I just froze. Her eyes searched my face. You're not Michael Brennan? Architecture firm downtown? Loves Rothko and hiking? No. I'm Ethan Walsh, software development. I've never been to a Rothko exhibit in my life. She set her wine glass down carefully. You let me think you were my date? You just went along with it? I know how it sounds. I'm an idiot. But you seemed so relieved when I walked in. I just couldn't find the words. Her hand covered her mouth. Oh my God. I told you about the app. I showed you his profile. I've been sitting here thinking I was making a good impression. Her voice was rising. Other tables were starting to look. No, I wasn't laughing. I was trying to figure out how to tell you. She stood abruptly. I need to go. Riley, wait. She grabbed her purse. Her hands were shaking. This is humiliating. I got dressed up, drove across town through traffic, and you just let me ramble like an idiot. I thought you were quiet because you were shy. She looked at me and her eyes were filling with tears. I didn't realize you were some weirdo who pretends to be other people for fun. The waiter approached. Is everything okay here? No, Riley said. Her voice cracked. Everything is definitely not okay. She looked at me one more time. I hope you got whatever you wanted out of this. Then she walked quickly toward the exit. I sat frozen for a moment. Then I threw money on the table and ran after her. I caught her in the parking lot. She was fumbling with her car keys, her hands shaking too much to get the key in the lock. Riley, please. I'm so sorry. She whirled on me. Tears streaming down her face now. Why did you do that? Why not just say immediately that I had the wrong person? Because you looked so happy to see me. Because I've been having a shit month, and someone being that excited to see me felt good for a second. Because I'm an idiot who made a terrible decision. She stared at me. That's the most honest thing you've said all night. I know. And I'm truly sorry. She finally got her key in the lock. Well, at least my actual date had the decency to cancel. You just let me talk to a stranger for 15 minutes. Riley? I called out. For what it's worth, Michael Brennan is an idiot for canceling on you. Any guy would be lucky to have you show up talking about Rothko. She looked at me for a long moment. You're a terrible person, Ethan Walsh. But thank you for that. Then she closed the door and drove away. I stood in the parking lot feeling like the world's biggest asshole. 3 days later, I was at a coffee shop when I heard her voice behind me. You've got to be kidding me. I turned. Riley was standing there staring at me with disbelief. Of all the coffee shops in this city. This is your coffee shop? I asked. I come here every morning. It's 2 blocks from my office. She crossed her arms. Let me guess. You're stalking me now? No, I come here sometimes. I had no idea. This is a coincidence. She studied my face. Okay, I believe you. The city isn't that big. We stood in uncomfortable silence as the line moved forward. Look, I started. I really am sorry. I've been kicking myself for 3 days. She sighed. Yeah, you did mess up, but I've had time to think. You should have spoken up immediately, but I basically didn't give you a chance before I started talking. That's generous. but it's still on me. The line moved. We were almost at the counter. So what happened with the real Michael? I asked, then immediately regretted it. Sorry, none of my business. No, it's okay, she shrugged. He messaged an hour after I left. Said he had a family emergency and forgot about our date. Asked to reschedule. Did you? She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. No, anyone who forgets they have a date isn't someone I want to know. We reached the counter. I ordered coffee. Let me buy yours. As an apology. She hesitated, then nodded. Large vanilla latte. We waited for our drinks in silence. I should get to work, she said when they were ready. Wait, I said. Can I ask you something? She turned back. Why were you so excited about that date? You seemed so hopeful when you thought I was him. Riley's expression softened. You want the honest answer? Always. Because Michael's messages made me feel seen. She looked down at her coffee. I've been on a lot of bad dates this year. Guys who only talk about themselves. Guys clearly looking for hookups. Guys on their phones the whole time. Michael's messages suggested he was different. So yeah, I was excited. Hopeful. And then it was different in the worst possible way. That was my fault, not his. Technically, you created a different kind of bad date. At least it's memorable. She smiled for real this time. I'm gonna make it an anecdote at parties. The time I went on a date with a stranger who didn't tell me until dessert. Except we never got to dessert. We didn't even order food, I pointed out. Details. She waved her hand. I'm workshopping the story. Can I make up for it? I asked. Take you to actual dinner. I promise to only be myself the entire time. She looked at me skeptically. You want to take me on a real date after our fake date was such a disaster? Maybe because it was such a disaster. I can't stop thinking about how excited you were. How you did your makeup and drove across town because you thought someone would be worth it. You deserve someone who shows up and is actually that person. And you think you're that person? I don't know, but I'd like to find out. She took a sip of her latte. Okay, one dinner. But if you turn out to be married or a serial killer, I'm writing a very strongly worded Yelp review. I'm definitely not married, I said seriously. Good, because that would be a deal breaker. We exchanged numbers, real names this time, real information. Our first real date was Friday at a different restaurant. No previous associations, no mistaken identities. I showed up 15 minutes early. Riley arrived exactly on time. Blue dress, hairstyled differently. She slid into the booth with a nervous smile. So, Ethan Walsh, tell me about yourself. The real you this time. I laughed. I work in software development, hospital security systems. It's boring, but I find it interesting. I'm chronically early to everything except blind dates I'm not on. I like hiking, cooking, unsolved mystery documentaries. I'm allergic to shellfish and afraid of birds. Birds? All birds? Mostly pigeons. They're unpredictable. Your turn. I work in marketing for a nonprofit. Arts education for underserved schools. Middle child. 2 brothers. I genuinely love Rothko. I stress bake when anxious. My coworkers love Monday mornings because I show up with whatever I made over the weekend. And I have a cat named Chairman Meow who judges all my life decisions. That's an incredible cat name. He's an incredible cat. Very opinionated. Probably would have advised against that blind date. But then we wouldn't be here, I pointed out. True, though I'm still deciding if this is better or worse. The waiter came. We ordered. Fell into easy conversation. She told me about her campaign for art supplies in low-income schools. I told her about a security breach I'd solved. We talked about hiking trails, documentaries, late-night food spots. When our entrees arrived, Riley looked at me seriously. Okay, I need to ask. When did you realize you needed to tell me the truth? I cut into my chicken. The moment you showed me Michael's profile. That's when it hit me how wrong this was. You were showing me evidence of your excitement about someone else. So why didn't you say something? Because you looked so happy. I knew that the second I told you, that happiness would turn into humiliation. I was trying to find the right words, but there was no right way. She nodded slowly. You know what the worst part was? Not that you weren't Michael. It was realizing I'd been having what I thought was a good conversation, making what I thought was a genuine connection, and it was all based on a lie. That feeling of being fooled. That's what hurt. I'm sorry. I've been on the other side of that, where you think something is real and find out it was performance. It's awful. She looked up. When? Last year. I dated someone for 3 months before finding out she was married. Husband and 2 kids in the suburbs. When I found out, it wasn't just the betrayal. It was realizing every moment I'd thought was genuine was actually carefully staged. Every inside joke, every intimate conversation, all performance. Riley's expression softened. I'm sorry. That's horrible. Yeah. So I understand why what I did was so messed up. Even though it was accidental and brief, that feeling of being deceived doesn't care about intentions. We ate in silence, the weight of shared hurt between us. So, she said eventually, if we're going to do this, we need ground rules. I'm listening. No lies. Not even small ones to be polite. If you're not feeling something, say it. If something bothers you, say it. Complete honesty even when it's uncomfortable. Agreed. And if this doesn't work out, we handle it with maturity. No ghosting, no slow fades, just direct communication. Deal. Also, she added with a smile, if you're secretly 3 kids in a trench coat, now's the time to tell me. I solemnly swear I'm one regular height adult with a driver's license and everything. She laughed. The tension broke. We spent the rest of dinner talking about lighter things. Same favorite bookstore, same terrible movie we loved ironically, same obsession with true crime podcasts. When the check came, we split it, Riley insisting on a fresh start. In the parking lot, we stood by her car. This was significantly better than last time, she said. Lower bar to clear, but still, I had a great time. Me too. Can I see you again? Soon? She pulled out her phone. I'm free Wednesday if you want to do something casual. Coffee or a walk. Something that doesn't involve tables where you can impersonate people. I promise to only be myself. I'll have ID ready if you need verification. That would actually be smart, she said, smiling. I've been fooled before. Wednesday we met at a park. Walked around the lake for 2 hours. Riley in jeans and a sweater. More relaxed than I'd seen her. She told me about growing up in a small town. Moving to the city for college. Why her nonprofit work mattered. I told her about my parents' divorce when I was 12. My sister overseas. Why I got into security systems after my apartment got broken into. Our hands brushed occasionally. The third time, Riley grabbed my hand and held it. This okay? More than okay. We walked like that for another mile. Comfortable silence. When we got back to parking, Riley turned to me. I really like you, Ethan. The real you. Not the accidentally fake version. I really like you too. She hesitated. But I need to tell you something. Okay? I'm scared. Of what? Of this. Of falling for someone and finding out there's some secret. Some hidden truth that changes everything. I know you're not Michael Brennan. I know you're not married. I know logically you're who you say. But that first night left this seed of doubt I can't shake. I understand. What would help? Time, probably. And continued honesty. She squeezed my hand. Just keep being real with me. Don't perform. Don't try to be who you think I want. Just be Ethan Walsh, security guy who's afraid of pigeons. I can do that. Over the next month, we fell into a pattern. Coffee, Wednesday mornings. Dinner or activities Friday nights. We went to a museum. I learned I actually appreciated Rothko when explained with genuine passion. We hiked a trail with a view of the entire city. We had a movie night at my apartment, where Chairman Meow appeared and stared at me judgmentally the entire time. You weren't kidding about him being opinionated, I said. The cat positioned himself between us on the couch. He's protecting me, making sure you're worthy. What's the verdict? She looked at the cat. He slowly blinked at me. I think that was approval. The slow blink is cat for I trust you. A month in, Riley invited me to a work event, a fundraiser gala for her nonprofit. I spent a week worrying about what to wear, whether I'd know how to act at a fancy event. You'll be fine, Riley assured me. Just be yourself. Wear a suit. Don't be afraid of birds if there are decorative peacocks. There won't be peacocks. Probably won't. At the gala, Riley introduced me to co-workers and her boss. I watched her work the room with easy confidence. Different here. More polished. But still, Riley. During a speech, she leaned over. I'm really glad you're here. Me too. Afterward, we stood on the terrace overlooking the city. Thank you for coming tonight, she said. I know work events aren't fun for the +1. Are you kidding? I got to see you in your element. You're incredible at what you do. She smiled. I love my job. Getting to help kids experience art who might not have access. Watching their faces when they create something. It matters. And you care about hospital security. We're both doing work that matters. Just different ways. I turned to face her fully. Riley, I need to tell you something. She tensed. Okay, I'm falling in love with you. I know it's only been a month. I know we have this weird foundation. But I needed you to know. I'm not performing. Not rushing. I'm just happier when I'm with you than I've been in years. She was quiet. I felt panic rising. Too much. Too soon. I shouldn't have said anything. No, she said quickly. You should have. Because I'm falling in love with you too. And it terrifies me. Why? Because what if there's something I don't know yet? Some other shoe waiting to drop? What if I'm wrong about you? What if the real you is different and I just haven't seen it? Those are valid fears. I can't promise there won't be things you learn that surprise you. But I can promise I'll never intentionally deceive you. No performances, no hidden truths. Just me. She kissed me then. Soft at first, then deeper. When we broke apart, she was crying. Happy tears, she clarified. I just didn't think I'd feel this way about someone again. Especially not someone who started by being my fake date. I pulled her close. For the record, worst meet cute ever. She laughed against my chest. I don't know. It's definitely memorable. 2 months in, things were going so well it scared me. We'd fallen into comfortable rhythms. Most nights together at one apartment or the other. Chairman Meow had accepted me, only occasionally knocking things off counters. We'd met each other's friends, integrated into each other's lives seamlessly. Then I got a message on LinkedIn that changed everything. It was from Michael Brennan, the real Michael Brennan, the man whose identity I'd accidentally stolen. The message was polite, curious. Hey, I think you might have gone on a date with someone who was supposed to meet me. Riley mentioned she met someone named Ethan at the restaurant I was supposed to be at. Small world. Hope things worked out better for you than they did for me. My hands shook. The past had found us. I needed to tell Riley immediately, but she was at a work dinner. I spent 2 hours spiraling, wondering if Michael had reached out to Riley too, wondering if she'd respond, wondering if she'd start questioning everything again. When Riley came home late, I was still awake, sitting on the couch in the dark. "What's wrong?" she asked immediately. Dropping her bag, I got a message from Michael Brennan. Her face went pale. "He found you?" Apparently Riley mentioned my name to him at some point. He put it together. "What did he say?" I handed her my phone. She read the message, her hand covering her mouth. "Oh God. Did he message you too?" She nodded slowly. "Yesterday. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want you to think I was talking to him behind your back." "What did his message say?" "He apologized for that night. Said he'd been dealing with a family crisis and handled it badly. Asked if I'd be willing to meet for coffee, to properly apologize in person." She looked at me. I didn't respond, but I've been thinking about it for 24 hours. My stomach dropped. "You want to meet him?" "I don't know. Part of me is curious about what could have been if he'd actually shown up that night, if you and I had never met. And part of me thinks that door is closed. That meeting him now would just be weird." She sat next to me. "What do you think I should do?" "I think you should do whatever you need to do. If you need closure or answers or just to see who he actually is, I get that. But it terrifies me. Because what if you meet him and realize he's everything you thought he would be? What if you realize I'm just the guy who accidentally took his place?" Riley grabbed my hand. "Ethan, you're not the guy who took his place. You're the guy who showed up. The guy who's been showing up every day for 2 months. The guy who learned about Rothko for me. Who lets my cat judge him. Who came to my work event and made small talk with my boss about arts education funding. But I'm also the guy who started this by lying to you. Even if it was accidental." She turned to face me fully. "You want to know what I've been thinking about since Michael's message?" "What?" "That night at the restaurant, when I thought you were him, I was performing too. I was being the version of myself I thought he'd want, based on his messages. Interesting and cultured and effortlessly charming. But with you, after the truth came out, I didn't have to perform anymore. I could just be myself, messy and anxious, and sometimes too honest. And you like that version better. I like the real you. Always. So no, I don't need to meet Michael. I don't need to know what could have been, because what actually is better than anything I imagined." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "But I do think you should respond to his message. Tell him thanks, but we're happy. Give him closure too." I pulled out my phone and typed a response. "Hey Michael. Yeah, small world. Things worked out incredibly well actually. Riley and I are together and very happy. Hope you're doing well." I hit send. Riley watched the message go through. "There," she said. "The past is officially closed, but 2 days later, everything got complicated." Michael responded. "That's great. Really happy for you both. But I need to tell you something. Riley wasn't supposed to meet me that night. She was supposed to meet my friend David. I used his profile and photos because I was catfishing her for my sister. My sister matched with Riley on the app 6 months ago. Got obsessed. Started creating elaborate fake relationships. I was helping her meet Riley in person, using a fake identity because my sister has some issues with boundaries. I'm sorry. I thought you should know." I stared at the message for a full minute. Read it 3 times. Then showed it to Riley. She went completely white. "What?" Her hands started shaking. "The messages, the conversations about Rothko and documentaries, that was all fake? That was someone's sister catfishing me?" I pulled up the dating profile Michael had mentioned. David Lawrence. Architecture firm. Different photos. But the profile text. The messages Riley had shown me that first night. They'd all been crafted by Michael's sister to lure Riley to that restaurant. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered on speaker. Riley needed to hear this. "Hello?" A woman's voice. Shaking. Crying. "Is this Ethan? Who is this?" "My name is Vanessa Brennan. Michael's sister. I need to explain." "There was nothing to explain," Riley said loudly. "You catfished me. You created a fake person to manipulate me into meeting you." "I know." Vanessa's voice cracked. "I know it was wrong, but I saw your profile and you were so perfect, so interesting and beautiful and everything I've ever wanted. I tried to match with you as myself, but you never swiped right. So I created David. I thought if I could just meet you in person, if you could see who I really was, maybe you'd give me a chance." Riley's face was red, tears streaming down. "So you lied. You manipulated. You tricked me into thinking I was meeting someone who valued art and conversation, when really I was being stalked by someone I'd already rejected. I'm sorry. I know I need help. Michael's making me see a therapist. But I needed you to know that those conversations were real. Those feelings were real. I meant everything I said about the Rothko exhibit. That was me. My words, my feelings. It doesn't matter, I said. The foundation was a lie. You stole someone else's face and identity to trick Riley into meeting you. That's not love. That's obsession." The line went quiet for a moment. Then Vanessa spoke again. "You're right. I know you're right. I just wanted to apologize. And to tell Riley that I'm sorry I ruined her faith in people. Sorry I made her doubt real connections." She hung up. Riley and I sat in silence, the weight of this revelation crushing. "So Michael was never real," Riley finally said. David was never real. The person I thought I was excited to meet never existed. It was all just some woman's obsession. I reached for her hand. But we're real. What we have is real. She pulled her hand away. Is it, though? Because we only met because I mistook you for a catfish's fake identity. Our entire relationship is built on someone else's manipulation. Riley. She stood up. I need some time to process this, to figure out what any of this means. How long? I don't know. She grabbed her keys. I'll call you. She left. I sat in my apartment alone, Chairman Meow staring at me from the corner. Even the cat looked disappointed. 3 days passed. No call, no text. I messaged her once, just checking in. Hope you're okay. No response. On day 4, I showed up at her office, waited in the lobby until she came down for lunch. Ethan. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes. We need to talk, I said. Not here. We went to a park, sat on a bench. Riley stared straight ahead. I can't stop thinking about that night, she said. How excited I was. How I'd built up this whole fantasy about who Michael or David or whoever was. How I'd convinced myself that someone out there had actually seen me, actually valued the things I cared about, and it was all fake. But what we built after that night was real, I said. Every conversation we've had, every moment we've shared, that was us. No catfishing, no lies, just 2 people getting to know each other. She finally looked at me, but that's the thing. I don't know if I can trust my own judgment anymore. I thought I was making a genuine connection with someone online. Turned out to be a manipulative obsession. I thought you were that person. You weren't. How do I know what we have is real and not just another thing I'm wrong about? Because I'm here. Because I keep showing up. Because I've been honest with you about everything since that first night. She shook her head. You lied to me for 15 minutes. I know it was an accident. I know you panicked. But the fact remains that our first interaction was built on deception. Maybe that set the tone for everything after. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Ethan. I've learned that pretty clearly. She stood up. I think we need to take a break. For how long? Until I figure out if I can trust my own feelings. If I can trust you. If I can trust anything. Riley, please. I watched you walk away at that restaurant 3 months ago. I'm watching you walk away now. And I don't know if I can do this again. Then don't. Stay. Talk to me. We can work through this. She was crying now. I can't. I'm sorry, but I can't. She walked away. I let her go this time. Didn't chase her. Sat on that bench for an hour trying to understand how someone else's lies had destroyed what we'd built. A week later, Michael reached out again. I heard about what happened. Vanessa told me she called you both. I'm sorry. My sister is getting professional help. This isn't the first time she's done something like this. The pattern is always the same. Obsession, manipulation, crash. I should have stopped her sooner. Your apology doesn't fix anything, I wrote back. Riley and I are done because your sister couldn't handle rejection like a normal person. I know, and I'm sorry, but I think you should know something else. Riley reached out to Vanessa. What? 2 days ago? She wanted to talk to her. Understand why Vanessa did it. They met for coffee. I don't know what they talked about, but I thought you'd want to know. I called Riley immediately. It went to voicemail. Riley, it's me. I heard you met with Vanessa. Can we please talk? Please. She called back an hour later. I'm outside your apartment. Can I come up? She looked different when I opened the door. Calmer somehow. Less angry. We sat on the couch. Chairman Meow immediately jumped into her lap. I met with Vanessa, she started. Needed to look her in the eye. Understand what would make someone do something like that. And she's sick, Riley said. Not in a way that excuses what she did, but in a way that makes sense of it. She has obsessive attachment disorder. History of trauma. She fixates on people and builds elaborate fantasies where she's the hero in their story. I listened. What did she tell you about the catfishing? That she spent 6 months learning everything about me, reading my social media, watching my life from a distance, crafted David's profile specifically to match what she thought I wanted. Every message was calculated to make me feel special. She paused, and it worked. I fell for it completely. That must have been hard to hear. It was. But you know what was harder? She looked at me, realizing I did the same thing to you. What? That night at the restaurant. I projected everything I wanted onto you. Didn't see you as a real person. Saw you as the manifestation of David's messages, the perfect date I'd been waiting for. And even after you told me the truth, part of me was still doing that, building you into someone who fit my fantasy of what love should look like. She took my hand. I've been angry at Vanessa for manipulating me, but I manipulated you too. Held you to impossible standards. Punished you for someone else's sins. Made you responsible for healing wounds you didn't create. Riley, I started. No, let me finish. She squeezed my hand. Vanessa taught me something important. That I've been so focused on being the victim of deception that I haven't taken responsibility for my own patterns. I choose emotionally unavailable people. I fall for performances instead of real connection. I build relationships on fantasies instead of reality. So what does that mean? I asked carefully. It means I'm going to therapy. Real therapy. To figure out why I keep setting myself up for disappointment. She smiled sadly. And it means I need to let you go. My heart dropped. What? You deserve someone who trusts you fully. Who doesn't hold every mistake against you forever. who doesn't punish you for being human and imperfect. That's not me right now. Maybe it will never be me. But you were perfect. I protested. No, I wasn't. And that's the point. You were real. Flawed and uncertain, and sometimes you made bad decisions. But you kept showing up, kept trying, kept being honest. And I couldn't handle that because I'm so used to fantasy that reality feels wrong. She stood up. I'm sorry, Ethan, for everything. For dragging you into my mess. For letting Vanessa's actions poison what we had. For not being brave enough to work through this. She headed for the door. Riley, wait. She turned back. I love you. I know. She was crying again. That's what makes this so hard. I love you too. But love isn't enough when you don't trust yourself. She left. This time I knew better than to chase her. 2 months passed. I threw myself into work, upgraded security systems, fixed vulnerabilities, spent nights alone with documentaries and takeout. My sister visited from overseas. Noticed immediately that something was wrong. You look terrible, she said bluntly. Thanks. I tried. What happened? I told her everything. The mistaken identity, the catfishing revelation, the way it all fell apart. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, You're an idiot. Excuse me? You let her walk away because she said she needed to work on herself. But you're not working on yourself at all. You're just sitting here, feeling sorry for yourself. I am working on myself. Really? What have you learned from this experience? I opened my mouth, closed it. Exactly, my sister said. You're so busy being the good guy who got unfairly rejected that you haven't examined your own role in the disaster. What's my role? I was the victim here. You lied to her for 15 minutes. Yeah, but that was, don't. She held up her hand. Don't make excuses. You made a choice that night. You chose to let her believe something false because it felt good to be wanted. That's on you. Even if everything else wasn't your fault, that first lie was. I sat with that for a moment. You're right. Of course I'm right. I'm your older sister. She smiled. So what are you going to do about it? I don't know. She's made it clear she doesn't want to work through this. So make it clear that you're willing to wait, that you're doing your own work, that when she's ready, if she's ever ready, you'll be there. Not as some perfect fantasy man, as Ethan Walsh, software security guy who's afraid of pigeons and sometimes makes really stupid decisions. I started therapy the next week. Talked about my pattern of avoiding conflict, my tendency to freeze instead of speaking up, the ways I'd let my ex's betrayal make me terrified of vulnerability. Talked about that night at the restaurant and how I'd prioritized my own comfort over Riley's right to truth. Dr. Kim was patient, asked hard questions, made me examine motives I'd been avoiding. Why did you really stay quiet that night? She asked during session 3. I've told you. I froze. Before that. Why did you walk toward that booth instead of correcting the hostess? I thought about it. Really thought. Because for just a second, I wanted to be the person Riley was waiting for. The person who inspired that kind of excitement. That kind of hope. Dr. Kim nodded. And what does that tell you about your needs in relationships? That I want to be wanted, I said slowly. That I'm willing to compromise truth to feel valued, even temporarily. 4 months after Riley walked away, I saw her at a bookstore. Our favorite one. The one we'd discovered together. She was in the poetry section. Didn't see me at first. I almost left. Didn't want to disrupt whatever piece she'd found. But then she turned, and our eyes met. Ethan. Hi, Riley. We stood there awkwardly, both holding books we weren't really shopping for. How are you? She asked. Good. Better. I'm in therapy. Oh, me too. She smiled slightly. Guess we both needed it. Yeah. We stood there longer. The silence, less uncomfortable now. I've been wanting to reach out, she said. But I didn't know if you'd want to hear from me. I always want to hear from you. She looked down. I owe you an apology. You don't, I said. But she continued anyway. I blamed you for someone else's damage. Punished you for not being perfect when I wasn't giving myself the same grace. That wasn't fair. I owe you an apology, too. That night at the restaurant, I should have spoken up immediately. I chose my comfort over your truth. And that set a pattern that made everything harder after. We're both works in progress, she said. Still works in progress. She looked at me fully then. Dr. Mitchell, my therapist, says I have anxious attachment style. That I push people away before they can disappoint me. That I hold grudges as protection. It's something I'm working on. Dr. Kim says I have avoidant tendencies, I shared. That I freeze in difficult moments instead of advocating for myself or others. That I need to learn to speak up even when it's uncomfortable. So we're both kind of disasters. She smiled. Yeah, but self-aware disasters. That's progress. Can I buy you coffee? I asked. Not a date. Just 2 disasters catching up. She hesitated, then nodded. I'd like that. We went to the coffee shop where we'd run into each other that second time. Ordered our usual drinks. Sat by the window. So what have you been up to? She asked. Work mostly. Some hiking. I adopted a dog. Really? What kind? Rescue mutt. Terrified of birds too. We're perfect for each other. She laughed. That's the first time I'd heard that sound in months. What about you? Work's been intense. We launched that arts education program I told you about. It's going really well. Lots of kids getting access to supplies and classes they wouldn't have otherwise. That's amazing. I'm proud of you. Thanks. She looked down at her coffee. I've also been dating. My chest tightened, but I kept my face neutral. Oh? Yeah. Nothing serious. Just trying to get back out there. Learn what I actually want instead of projecting fantasies. How's that going? Terrible, she admitted. Went on a date with a guy who spent the entire dinner talking about his ex. Another one asked me to split the bill down to the penny, including tax. And one guy tried to convince me cryptocurrency was going to save humanity. I smiled despite myself. Sounds like a nightmare. It really is. She looked at me. But it's also helping me realize something. What? That the real thing is rare. That finding someone who actually shows up and tries and is honest even when it's hard, that's not common. And I threw it away because I was too scared to do the work. We sat in silence. I want to try again, she said quietly. If you're willing. I don't know if I can, I said honestly. She looked hurt, but nodded. I understand. Not because I don't still love you, I continued, but because I need to make sure I'm doing it for the right reasons. Not because I'm desperate to be wanted. Not because I'm afraid of being alone, but because I genuinely believe we can build something healthy together. She reached across the table, took my hand. That's fair. That's exactly the kind of honesty I needed to hear. So what do we do? She asked. I thought about it. We keep doing our own work. We stay in therapy. We learn to be whole people separately. And then, if we both still want to, we try again. Together. As real people. Not fantasies. She smiled. Not fantasies. We finished our coffee. Exchanged numbers again. This time with a clear understanding. Space. Time. Growth. Then reassessment. Over the next 3 months, we texted occasionally. Nothing heavy. Just checking in. She'd send me articles about security breaches she thought I'd find interesting. I'd send her updates about programs for arts education funding. We ran into each other twice more at that bookstore. Started to seem less coincidental. More like we were both showing up hoping to see the other. 6 months after that coffee shop conversation, Riley called me, her voice nervous. Hey, I've been doing a lot of work with Dr. Mitchell, and I think I'm ready. Ready for? To try? For real this time? If you still want to? I thought about it. Really thought. Examined my motives, my needs, my capacity. Yeah, I said, I think I'm ready too. We met for dinner. Different restaurant. No history, no ghosts. Just us. Riley in a yellow dress. Me in jeans and a button-down. We ordered appetizers. Wine. Talked about our respective therapy journeys. I learned I use people's expectations to hide, I admitted. I become who I think they want, instead of being myself. That night at the restaurant, I became your fantasy version of Michael because it was easier than being me. Riley nodded. I learned I catastrophize. One lie or mistake, and I write off the entire person. I don't allow for growth or change. I punish people for being human. So, we both have work to do. Yeah, but we can do it together now, if we're careful. She reached across the table. I'm scared. Me too. What if we mess it up again? Then we mess it up, but at least this time we'll be honest about it. She smiled. Okay, let's try. We started slow. 1 date a week, clear communication, no projecting, no fantasies, just showing up as ourselves. The first month was awkward. We kept catching ourselves falling into old patterns. She'd start to spiral about something small and have to stop herself. I'd freeze during a disagreement and have to force myself to speak up. But we kept trying, kept being honest, kept showing up. 3 months in, Riley invited me to another work event. This time I knew what to expect. No anxiety, just excitement to see her in her element. At the event, someone asked how we met. Riley and I looked at each other. She thought I was her blind date, I said. I didn't correct her until dessert. Except we never got to dessert, Riley added, laughing. The person looked confused. That's a story for another time, Riley said, squeezing my hand. On the terrace later, Riley turned to me. You know what I realized? What? That first night when I thought you were Michael, I was excited about the idea of him. But with you, the real you, I'm excited about the reality. That's better. Much better. 6 months in, we had our first real fight. About something stupid. I'd canceled plans last minute for a work emergency. She felt deprioritized. I felt like she wasn't being understanding. We yelled. Said things we regretted. Then we both stopped. Took a breath. I'm sorry, I said. I should have communicated better about the work situation. I'm sorry too, she said. I jumped to conclusions instead of asking what was really going on. We talked it through. Actually, talked. Listened. Compromised. Didn't let it fester. Look at us, Riley said afterward. Having a healthy argument resolution. We're basically relationship experts now. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. A year after we started over, I moved into Riley's apartment. Chairman Meow had already approved the arrangement. We fell into comfortable routines. Morning coffee together, walks around the lake on Sundays, movie nights where we argued about which documentary to watch. It felt real, solid, built on truth instead of fantasy. One night, I woke up to find Riley sitting on the couch in the dark. You okay? I asked. Couldn't sleep. Thinking about that night at the restaurant. The first one. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd corrected me immediately? All the time. We probably would never have seen each other again. She nodded. I would have gone home embarrassed. You would have had dinner alone. We'd both have stories about a weird evening. But we wouldn't have this. No, we wouldn't. She turned to look at me. So was the lie worth it? I thought about it carefully. The lie wasn't worth it. The damage it caused, the patterns it reinforced, none of that was worth it. But working through it together, learning to build something real from broken foundations, that was worth everything. She smiled. Good answer. Come back to bed. 2 years after our second first date, I proposed. Not at the restaurant where we met, not at the coffee shop where we reconnected, at the bookstore, our bookstore, in the poetry section where I'd seen her that day. Riley was looking at Mary Oliver when I got down on one knee. She turned around, saw me. Her hand went to her mouth. Ethan, Riley, I started. 2 years ago, you thought I was someone I wasn't, and I let you believe it because I was too scared to tell the truth. That was wrong, but it taught me something important. It taught me that real love isn't about being the fantasy. It's about being honest even when it's hard, showing up even when it's scary, choosing truth over comfort, every single time. She was crying now. You taught me that love isn't about perfection. It's about doing the work, building something real, choosing each other even when it would be easier to walk away. I pulled out the ring. So I'm asking you, not as Michael Brennan or David Lawrence or any fantasy you might have imagined. I'm asking you as Ethan Walsh, software security guy, afraid of pigeons, sometimes freezes in difficult moments. Will you marry me? She pulled me up and kissed me. Yes. Yes to all of it. The imperfection and the work and the truth. Yes. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony. Close friends and family. My sister was my best woman. Riley's brother walked her down the aisle. Chairman Meow was ring bearer. He knocked the rings off the pillow twice, but we expected that. During our vows, Riley said, I promise to choose reality over fantasy, to speak my truth even when it's hard, to trust you and trust myself, to do the work every single day, and I promise to choose honesty over comfort, to show up fully as myself, to speak up in difficult moments, to build a life with you based on who we actually are, not who we wish we were. At the reception, someone asked about our meet cute. Riley and I told the whole story, the mistaken identity, the 15-minute lie, the catfishing revelation, the break, the therapy, the slow rebuilding. People listened with wide eyes. That's the most chaotic love story I've ever heard, Riley's coworker said. Yeah, Riley said, looking at me. But it's ours. 3 years into marriage, we have a routine. Morning coffee together, walks with the dog, therapy when we need it, date nights where we try new restaurants. None with histories or ghosts. Just us. Sometimes Riley still gets anxious, spirals about small things, but now she catches herself, talks it through, doesn't let it consume her. Sometimes I still freeze, avoid difficult conversations, but now I notice, push through, speak up even when it's uncomfortable. We're not perfect. We still mess up, still have arguments, still hurt each other's feelings sometimes, but we work through it, every time. Last week, we went back to that first restaurant. Different hostess, different waiter, but same corner booth. We sat down and ordered drinks. This is weird, Riley said, looking around, being here where it all started. Good weird or bad weird? Both, she said. I keep thinking about that version of me who walked in here so excited about meeting Michael. How different she was from who I am now. Better or worse? Different. More real. Less afraid. We ordered dinner. As we ate, Riley said, You know what I wish I could tell her? That version of you from that night? That the person she's waiting for isn't coming, but someone better will show up. Someone real and flawed and honest. Someone who will mess up but keep trying. Someone who will choose her every day. Not the fantasy of her. The real her. I reached across the table, took her hand. And what would you tell the version of me who walked in here alone? I'd tell him that freezing in difficult moments doesn't make him a coward. It makes him human, and that finding someone who loves him anyway, who pushes him to be better, that's worth every uncomfortable moment of growth. We finished dinner. This time we actually got to dessert, shared a chocolate cake, laughed about how different everything was now. In the parking lot, we stood by the same spot where Riley had fumbled with her keys that first night. I was so angry at you, she said. So hurt. I know. I was angry at myself. She looked at me. But I'm glad I was wrong that night. Glad you weren't who I was waiting for. Glad you were just you. Me too. We drove home together. To the apartment we shared. To the life we'd built. To Chairman Meow judging us from the couch. To therapy appointments and date nights and morning coffee. To honesty even when it's hard. To choosing each other every single day. She thought I was her blind date who canceled. I didn't correct her until dessert. And somehow, despite everything, we built a life from that lie. Not because the lie was okay. It wasn't. But because we chose to do the work. To be real. To show up every single day. Not as fantasies. As ourselves. Flawed and honest and trying. That's the story. The messy, complicated, imperfect truth. Not the meet cute people want to hear. But the one that's actually worth telling. Because real love isn't about perfect beginnings. It's about choosing truth even when fantasy would be easier. About doing the work even when walking away would be simpler. About building something solid on broken foundations. One honest moment at a time. You're still here, you're a true fan. Show some support with a like and subscribe to catch the next one.